Which leaves us with France in our review of the troubles in Europe caused by decades of a particular brand of social policies. The riots continue. Let's start at the beginning. Here's how the Daily Mail newspaper's Chris Pleasance explains it.
The unrest began on June the 27th in Nanterre, a banlieue or suburb of Paris on the western outskirts of the city. Nahel, a 17-year-old delivery driver, was spotted at the wheel of a yellow Mercedes with Polish number plates in a bus lane shortly before 8 a.m. Two officers on motorbikes said he was driving fast with two other boys in the car, so they decided to stop him at a red light. Nahel fled, but police caught up to him in traffic, which is when they drew their guns and approached the car on foot.
What happened next is disputed, but the boy was shot and killed by the police. Some say he drove the car at police, others say his foot slipped and the car lurched forward. Daily Wire commentator Andrew Clavin says the cops have had enough, and he read out a statement from one of the country's police unions, which is full on, to say the least. Take a listen to this.
He's too young to drive. The police stop him. He's driving a stolen car with Polish plates. And that's important because apparently this is stolen German cars with Polish plates are used by drug dealers. And this kid had a lot of arrests. He had no convictions, but he was known to be part of the drug world. And the cops, one of the cops positioned himself on the hood of his car, and the kid stepped on the gas to get away, and the cop fired and he killed him. He says he wanted to wound him, but the cops have had it with these people. The country's top two police unions, the Alliance Police Nationale, and you have to forgive my terrible French accent, and UNSA Police, said in a statement, today police officers are at the front line because we are at war, faced with these savage hordes. It's these savage hordes, he's calling them. It's no longer enough to call for calm. Calm must be imposed. Now is not the time for industrial action, but for fighting against these vermin. So that's Civil War talk. They think they are really in for a long fight.
Whoa, that was the police union, an official statement. So the police have really had enough in France. In any case, just like George Floyd in the US, the killing sparked riots, bringing simmering tensions to the surface. Back to the Daily Mail.
Thousands of people have been arrested, hundreds of officers have been hurt, cars, buses, trams and buildings have been torched, and armed men have taken over the streets. In perhaps the most shocking incident, rioters drove a car into the home of a small town mayor in the middle of the night, leaving his wife with a broken leg and injuring his children. President Macron has been forced to deploy France's GIGN special forces to try and bring the situation under control, and has so far resisted calls to declare a state of emergency.
The Daily Mail reports that President Macron initially denounced the killing of Nahel, but after a backlash from police, he now blames social media and video games. But it seems the real underlying issue is decades of too fast immigration, without any plans for cultural, social and economic integration. Chris Pleasance says to understand why the riots are happening, we have to look at where they are happening.
Which is inside impoverished suburban neighborhoods known as banlieues. These areas are notorious hotspots of unrest, where multiple generations of poor migrants end up being effectively cut off from the rest of society. They are crammed into low-quality housing, devoid of access to good schools, and often discriminated against in the job market, meaning the prospects of children born in these areas are bleak. That attracts crime, which in turn draws the attention of police, whose sometimes heavy-handed tactics lead to allegations of systemic racism.
The Daily Mail says gangs and gang violence has exploded as young men in these deprived neighbourhoods fight to survive on the mean streets. And it's not just Paris. Marseille and Lyon and other major cities are also affected. You want to screw up your country? Do rapid immigration. And do it without expecting any adherence to the dominant culture of your country. Don't require any assimilation commitments. Give migrants a sense of entitlement even, and call anyone who suggests immigration has to be handled very gradually and sensitively a racist.